Good morning or good afternoon. Welcome back to my channel. It's Denise. So, I want to talk to you today about having healthy relationships in your life. Having healthy relationships in this life or in your life. And I want to dedicate this particular video to my mom. I just had the blessing and opportunity to hold my mom's hand as she transitioned. She fought a good fight with leukemia, and finally it took over her body. She had 13 months of remission in these last 2 years, but this last bout of leukemia, she was not able to win the battle. So it was a beautiful situation, but also the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life. And I was there by her side as she transitioned. And so I'm grateful, forever grateful for that opportunity. But it also makes me think about healthy relationships. In this last week, we came home on Tuesday to hospice. And in this last week, the phone calls and the presence of beautiful people who my mother knew was what really helped us as we went through this, right? And of course, God was with us every step of the way. So let's talk. Let's talk. Many of us are over 50. Many of us are on this beautiful journey. Many of us have a desire to have love, true love in our lives. And that love is not only love for a spouse or a significant other, that love is also for our family, our friends, our parents, our siblings, right? One thing that I could see is that life is so precious and is so much better when you have loving relationships along the way. And so today I want to talk about how can we make sure that we have true loving relationships around us, right? We need to make sure that we are walking in light and that we break free from any toxic relationships and patterns and embrace love that actually nourishes our soul. This is so important to have love that nourishes your soul in this season, right? Because in this season, you're going to be confronted with many things: aging parents, adult children, on your job, right? Being an older person at work brings its own challenges. So definitely you want to let love guide you, right? Have you been meditating? Have you been praying? Prayer and meditation is so important, right? To feel the breath of God, right? Through meditation, to feel the love of God in prayer. And that is what's getting me through right now. Like I said, this week has been um, incredible, heartbreaking. My heart has ached. My heart still aches. But I know with God and with the true loving relationships that I have in my life, I'm going to make it through this season. Remember, dear ones, it's very, very important to attract healthy relationships into your lives, to set clear intentions in your relationships for the kind of love that you desire, right? If you don't set clear intentions, there are those who will cross boundaries, right? There are those who are not loving, who will cross boundaries and might make life a little bit more challenging. And so we don't want that in this season, right? We want to make sure that we are walking in places that help us to embark on a journey of self discovery. I'm learning things about myself that I never even knew. And that's what these this season is about. That's what being in your 50s is about, and 60s and 70s, right? You're discovering and embarking on journeys that are different from what you've done probably your whole life. This is also a time for us to heal any old wounds. Those old wounds will get in the way. Those old wounds will stifle us and stagnate us from moving forward into the beauty that God has for us, right? And so it's okay to have relationships where you find yourself saying, you know what? I'm sorry. Uh, I forgive you. Please forgive me. I love you. It's going to be okay, right? And move forward because life is precious and it's too short for some of us, for many people. My mother had her 70th birthday while she was in the hospital. She turned 70 years old, and she by that point she had been in the hospital about I think 9 days, and she came home from hospice on a Tuesday. I was with her around the clock Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday, her body really started to break down. And by Saturday at 3:24, she had transitioned on, and I was there that whole time, and I'm so grateful, right? And I got to hold her hand that whole time, right? Many of you know that I'm an only child. And so I got to be there and I feel so blessed. But while I was there, right, she had phone calls coming in and I put the phone on speaker and she talked to, her friends and those friends who truly loved her and who she truly loved. And so they too, they got those last, the last day with her, even if it was just a few minutes, they got that time with her. And that's beautiful. And her grandchildren got that time with her. And that was beautiful, right? And so relationships are so important. Who is in your life that doesn't need to be in your life? Let them go, right? This journey is so precious that you need people in your life who love you and who you love and who are healthy and who will uplift you in this season, right? So, also, what's important is that we're able to move past old wounds and clear our minds and hearts for new possibilities. I don't know what this new season is gonna bring. My mother, she was pretty much like my best friend, right? Because my mother and I, there were only 16 years between us. And one of the things I had wrote on her birthday card is, Mom, I thought we were going to be senior citizens together, right? But even though that didn't happen, and she laughed, right? But even though that didn't happen, we had a good run. We had beautiful experiences, right? Because I kind of grew up, right, with my mother. And so we had beautiful experiences. And that's what you want in your life. You want love and you want beauty, right? So let those old wounds go, release it in the name of Jesus, let it go so that you can be healed and walk in this newness, walk in new possibilities. Also, you want to make time for self-care. Um, After my mom transitioned, I felt I felt tired and I felt numb because it was an intense journey from that Tuesday to that Saturday was very intense. And for the most part, it was me and her. And she had a friend who lived in the building where she lived, who's also a reverend. And she just happens to be a reverend at the church that I go to. But my mother met her long before I ever met her. And so she would pop in and say a prayer and, talk with my mom. And so my mom wasn't totally alone, just me and her, and I wasn't totally alone. So she was kind of like that support for both of us. And that was just God, right? Because she would pop in at the most uh, crucial times, right? Where maybe my mom was having some type of a bout, some type of a situation, and I'd be trying to handle that situation. And here she would come. And it was like a godsend. And I thank God for that, right? So positive, beautiful relationships that add value, not take away, right? That add value. And so, also, the other thing that is important is self care. You have to take care of yourself. Today is Monday. Normally, I would be at work with my chickadees, right? My fifth graders. But today, I need to handle some of the business. Now, my mother she was beautiful, beautiful, but she was also kind of a free bird and simple. So she doesn't want anyone fussing over her, but there are still some final affairs that need to be taken care of. And so I'll do that today. My daughter is here with me today, and yesterday my both of the twins were here with me, and we had breakfast. We went and had breakfast, and we hung out and just were together and told stories and laughed and loved on each other. And so that's part of that self care. And today, I'll be handling business, right? But also just easing into the day. You have to care for yourself. You can't keep going, going, going. You have to know when to take time to meditate, when to take time to pray, to eat healthy foods, right? To drink water, to sleep, to rest, all of these things so that you can be your best self. Now, understand your worth and your value. My mother definitely understood her worth and her value. And we were telling stories, and we were talking about some things that happened, when I was a kid. And, um, my mother just never stood for foolishness, right? And which is a beautiful thing. And so she taught me. However, I've had some foolish situations in my life. So, and we all have, right? But definitely know your worth. Know your worth. You are valuable. You are beautiful. You are loved. God loves you. So make the best choices that you can for your life because you're worth it. You understand? You're worth it. Trust that God will bring the right people into your life at the right time. I just talked about my mother's friend who lived in the building where she lived, right? Now, you have to know my this is the amazing thing about her. She got sick about 2 years ago. We went through caregiving. I have a stepsister. We were caregivers at her home, which is about an hour plus from here, right? And we did that, and I was off. It was summertime, and I had to go back to work. And I told my mother, I said, I'm not going to go back to work. I'm just going to stay. And my mother said, no, you're going back to work, right? Because my mother has always been wise enough to know that there is something about me working with kids because I've had every kind of job you can imagine. But me working with kids is the thing that fills and feeds my soul, right? And so she said, no, you're going back to work. She said, we're going to find a place near you. So my daughter and I went out and we found a place near me, right? It's an independent facility, but also it had assisted living. And so what we found out is that if my mother was to get more sicker, right? If the illness progressed, that she can live on the independent living side, and then she could get that extra care that she might need if it was to progress. So my mom was wise in that, and she because she didn't wanna pass at home. My father had just passed recently, before her illness at home, right? And so she came here, we moved her here, we got her all set up. I was able to start the school year. I think we moved her a week after school started. So we were able to get her all set up, right? She had a whole year and a half here, beautiful apartment, beautiful friends that she made, beautiful relationships, right? And this is what I'm saying. We have to make wise and loving, real relationships in this season in our life, right? Because that benefited her. And she healed, and she had about a year, 13 months of remission and just running around having a great time with her friends, shopping. She loved shopping. That was her number one thing to do. And she found great deals. But so she was able to do that, right? And it was a beautiful thing. But she also knew in the background, if she was to get sick again, that would be the place, that would be her final resting place. And that's exactly what happened. That became her final resting place. And we were able to go back there. And she lived out the rest of her days there. And the rest of her days were good. Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then Friday took a turn. And Saturday by 3:24, she was gone, right? But she was wise. She was wise. The Bible tells us to be um, as wise as a serpent and as harmless as a dove. And my mother was wise. She was wise in the people she chose herself to be around. She was wise in her relationships. She was wise in her boundaries. I even asked her when she was transitioning, I said, Mom, do you see the light? Mom, do you see anybody? Do you see Grandpa is her husband, right? Pain. And she said, you know what she said? Now by this time, she's slipping away and her speech was not as clear. You know what she told me? She said, "Stop pushing me. Stop pushing me." Right? Because why? She had to transition as she would, but that was also that fire in her, right? Because she was very good at setting boundaries. So when I'm asking her the question about does she see the light, does she see grandpa, she's like, hey, I got this, right? I'm transitioning as God would have me to do so. No, I don't see that yet. Stop pushing me. So it's really interesting. What are your boundaries? Do you have boundaries? Do you have boundaries in health? If you don't have boundaries in health, then you're definitely not going to have boundaries when it comes to the time of sickness, right? Or a challenge. And so we want to make sure that we always have those healthy boundaries and know what works for us and what doesn't work for us. And then if something doesn't work for us, speak up. Speak up and say so, right? It's time for us to rewrite our stories. We have to rewrite our stories and we have to make those stories beautiful, right? Instead of my mother languishing at home where her husband passed, in that it became a sadness, right? Instead of languishing in that place, she moved to a new place where there was light, where there was love, where she had new opportunities, new possibilities. That's what God is calling for us in this season. New possibilities, new life, right? New journey. Are you ready for that journey? Are you ready to break free from the past? Are you ready, right? Forgive yourself, forgive others. Let things go that don't serve you, right? And then cross over kind of into a fun-filled, joyful life. Love knows no boundaries, right? Love can transcend everything, which is good. Trust in the power of love. Trust in the power of love to transform your life, to lead you to those positive relationships that you need in your life, right? To lead you to fulfill your heart's desires. Life is too short. I'm a witness. I've cried tears and tears. I'm still, I'm still numb is not the word because definitely I could feel there was a point where I was numb because I was just so tired. But now it's like, okay, Lord, what's next? I have to honor my mother, and we honored her, and I honored her wishes. And we did all of those things that we needed to do, which were beautiful. We still have like the formalities, right, of the service and all of that to come. And if you know my mother, she was a free bird, right? She wasn't into any pomp and circumstance, right? So this part, next part that's going to happen is just for for friends and family, right, who want to come be a part of. But as far as she's concerned, she lived her life and she's of God, right? And she's at peace and no more pain. And so I have to know that it's time to walk in love. It's time to walk in light. It's time to make sure that in this season that those new possibilities are there and those possibilities abound with love and light. And that's what I want for you. That's what I want for you. Be be one who feels empowered. Be one who feels like you can be an inspiration to others. Be one who knows that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, right? So that you can attract healthy relationships into your life. So you can attract lasting, beautiful relationships into your life. That's what I want as I'm in this season. So definitely, I would want the same for you. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Thank you so much for listening to me talk today about just embracing love, right? Embracing light, letting go of past, and walking into the new possibilities that God has for you in this season for women over 50. If you heard something today that you liked, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you next time. Be blessed.